I have you for 2003. Many of you maybe earlier.
Lori's a lot earlier. Lori
A
Jarvis.
lot earlier. Fantastic.
Mhm.
You all have strong musical backgrounds. I think we're very fortunate to have you tonight. In addition to singing with Lustre, many of you are you're all involved with Harbor City Music Company?
Yes.
All of you pretty much. Wonderful. And mostly, I have here that Jenny is with her husband and two rescue pups. You have two little babies.
I do.
Yep. And you as a quartet have earned numerous musical awards, including a Harmony Achievement Award, a very large one.
Harmony Sweeps is maybe what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
The Harmony
So,
Sweepstakes. Yes.
yeah. So we're really excited. I believe we'll be separating into separate rooms later to
No.
work on the music parts.
No,
We're
we're
going to
all
do it
staying
all
together.
Got it. Okay, good. Well, welcome, Lustre. We're thrilled to have you.
Well, thank you so much. I'll just say real quick, yeah, I do have a husband. I have two grown kids and one grandson and two dogs. Kate's got a husband and a baby. Lori's got a cat, and Lori's got a job.
And I got nothing. Got us. You got us.
Yeah, and we've been together since 2005, and we won the international competition in 2017 in Las Vegas. Vegas 3, as we say. So we're really happy to be here. We're so glad to be friends with so many people in Region 1, and it's really our pleasure to be here tonight. So I almost clicked the wrong button. I almost clicked the leave meeting button, but I want to click the share screen button instead. So let me just do that.
Just get introduced and then leave.
Goodbye.
All right. So can you see we're full of craft?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great.
Can you tell?
Right? Off to a great start. So, yeah, we're here to talk about barbershop craft skills. And this class, we want to say, is made especially for this meeting. We've never given this class before, but that's not to say that it's going to go poorly. It's going to go great because we made it just for you. So we're so glad to be here.
World premiere.
What is all this craft everywhere? Oh my gosh, there's so much craft around here. Everywhere we look, there's craft, craft, craft. Well, you get your craft together, guys. Okay. All right, that pun is done. So what is barbershop craft? We believe, this is just our own little definition, that it's kind of the rules or the guidelines of the barbershop style. That's what craft is. It's part-specific tips and tricks and skills that make you sing your part better. And basically, it's just the stuff that makes it barbershop instead of another style of music. So we're going to give you tonight some overview of some craft information, and then we're going to use it's the music that brings us together as a huge part of a demonstration of all of this stuff. So there we go.
All right, so we're going to start off by talking about the cone. Most of you have probably seen or read about this or heard about this, of course, with score sheets if you've been in a while. You'll see on the screen, we've got the tenor on top, the bass on bottom, lead and baritone in the middle. On the score sheets, it actually has lead and baritone on both of those lines, depending on, where the music lies. So the lead actually has to sing the most solid and stable sound they can. It's what the audience hears the most. So of course they have to sing with authority. The bass on the bottom there has to give that nice solid foundation. They're often thought of as the secondary melody, sometimes even being a little bigger dynamically than the lead. Obviously, in the shape of the cone, it kind of represents that. On the top, you've got the tenor. They have to sing with the crystalline light quality. They ride those overtones. Now, you might notice on our cone, we actually didn't make it a complete triangle. There's no point on this because the tenors, while they have to sing with that lighter quality on top, we don't want them to sing with that pinched sound. So that's why it's kind of an open-ended cone there. And then, of course, we have the baritone. The baritones have to fill. Their job is to fill. If they are where they are on the cone, they're going to sing more bass-like. They're not going to sing as a bass. They'll just fill more in that richer quality. If they happen to swap and be above the leads, they're going to sing more of that light crystalline sound in their own sound than they would to start with. So Jenny, there we go. Just a sample chord there on the screen to help understand the strength of how you have to sing. You'll notice that the bass is on the F. This is an F chord. That is the root of the chord. Also, you'll see that the lead is on the root or one of the chord. Both of those have to sing a nice, strong, solid foundational sound. If you notice, we have the 5 marked as strong also. That's the root 5 combination. Those are always just, you lock and ring those and you pretty much got a great start to everything. The tenors then up on the 3rd, this is a typical barbershop chord with the tenors singing light and high on the 3rd. And we'll get into that a little bit here in just a little bit of different notes of the chord when you need to sing lighter and higher and things like that. Some special balances in the barbershop world. First, the rub. Most of you have probably experienced this. It's when you're singing the one step above or below another part. Typically, you know, with the cone, you have the bass is the biggest, loudest, and it kind of lightens up as it goes up. But if you happen to have 2 notes side by side, you want those to be equal volume. You don't want the higher one to be a little bit lighter or the bottom one to be darker. You need equal volume so that it's a nice solid, we mean to do this kind of thing. So what happens when the parts switch their normal place in the chord? You know, what happens when the baritones go above the lead? I kind of talked about that a bit, but what they need to do is just fill a little bit lighter than they normally would. They need to sing more tenor like I spoke a little bit ago. And leads, you might need to fill out a little bit more. Now, I say this, but I will give the caveat that it depends on where in your range you are singing this. Leads, if your notes, even if they're below the baritone, are in a good, solid, strong place in your voice, and if you're in a quartet or in the chorus, your director, of course, will be your 5th ear to say, leads, you don't have to fill any more. Baritones, you may just need to lighten up a bit. Or vice versa, leads, you might need to fill more because the baritones are where they need to be and we still can't hear that melody. Next, what if the tenor goes below the lead? Likewise, now the tenor needs to fill out a little bit more and sing with a richer, fuller sound where the leads can lighten up a bit because the top of that chord, we need it to be lighter, basically. And what I haven't seen a whole lot of, but what happens when the bass goes above the baritone?
Michael Gellert arrangements has.
They do.
Okay, well, okay, so I guess I've seen it quite a bit then. I just haven't paid attention to it close enough.
Well, when the bass takes the melody often, you know,
Yes.
and baritones land down there.
Right. So baritones, then, they've got that nice solid foundation that they need to provide. Not to say that they have to sing as a bass. They just need to fill out and be richer on that bottom solid foundation there. Just basses take that lighter approach. So go ahead, Kate.
All right, yeah, I think this one's mine. So we showed you the picture of the chord earlier to know that if you're on root or 5 or 3 that you have a special job. Well, I'm here to give you a shortcut because while some of us baritones and closet baritones enjoy figuring out what the chords are and finding out what our part is, a lot of us really don't care about spending that much time. So here's your shortcut. All you have to do is look at the key signature. And if you are on 2, 3, 6, or 7, you tune those just a little bit to the high side. And I love this shortcut because it means that, like, so we're in the key of C here. So I can look, the second note of the scale is the D. I can find all the Ds in my part and highlight them and say, go a little bit higher here. And I find all the E's and go a little bit higher here and do the same thing for the A's and the B's. And then I'm done. I don't have to worry about what the chord is, because if everybody does that, then we all are actually tuning in the correct direction. Let's go to the next one. But there is also there's a part 2 to our shortcut, which are accidentals. So accidentals being those little symbols that change the pitch of the note that follows. So In this, we are in a sharp key. So sharps move notes up, flats move notes down, and naturals in this case also move notes down because they would be sharp and now they're coming down. In a flat key, the notes would go up. So the trick here is tune in the direction of the accidental. So if you have a note that is sharp, you're going to tune it a little bit to the high side. If you've got a note that it's flat, you're going to tune it just a little bit to the low side. And I even hesitate to say that way because you never want to go very far down, but they just get that on just a little bit. And then a natural depends on which key you're going. But those are my shortcuts for you. You'll see more about accidentals later.
Okay, so then there's all the sparkly craft that flies around in the barbershop world. We got sequins, we got rhinestones, we got lots and lots of kinds of barbershop craft. So the first one we want to talk about is the swipe, and this is typically when one part, often the base, but not only, sometimes it's one part alone and sometimes it's two or more parts moving together, but basically you're sliding with a lot of like hitting every note along the way from one note to another. Often it's energized, and it should build excitement. There's usually a message driven purpose for swipes. You want to energize throughout them without any vocal tension. You just want to have a beautifully executed swipe. Let's see, here we go. Sorry, I'm moving my mouse. The next kind of sparkly barbershop craft are pickups. Now there are pickups in all styles of music, but in barbershop, the way we usually do it is that one part, or sometimes a duet, cuts out early from a held chord at the end of a phrase so that they can take a quick breath and come in on a pickup and deliver a clear and really solid pickup word while the other parts are breathing and coming in later. So in this case, we talk about covering the breath. So let's say the lead has a pickup. So the harmony parts are going to hold their last note a little bit longer. The lead's going to cut out early, and the other three are going to cover her breath and keep singing over the lead's breath. Then the trio is going to stop singing while the lead sings the pickup. And so that's really a hallmark of the barbershop style. Another are downbeats. This is similar to pickups, but usually they occur in a rhythmic uptune where one part gives a solid downbeat and other parts come in on the upbeat or on the next beat of the measure. So oftentimes the downbeat is a bass, and then the trio comes in with the melody being sung as an upbeat in the measure. You want to make sure that if you're singing the downbeat, you're not punching anything, but you want to be nice and solid and clear, accurate on your note, and nice and present in your sound. Okay, posts and hangers. So they're kind of the same thing. It's when usually one part is singing a really long note on usually a really wide open vowel and just like across many, many measures. And the rest of the parts are singing more music and more parts and more words along as the post and the hanger goes along. So the post singer needs to be well supported with lots of air and keep the sound energized, keep the sound moving and growing in resonance and probably growing in volume, although sometimes a post can be a decrescendo as well. No parking on your sound, no sitting still, no saying, okay, I got my note, I'm just going to sit here and wait for 5 measures. The moving parts need to be clear and purposeful so that they're building energy all the way through that post. And all 4 parts should build to the same level of excitement, whether it's a decrescendo or a crescendo. Everybody has the same level of energy and the same level of involvement in their vocal sound. Okay, another thing that happens in barbershop a lot are echoes and repeats. So this is like, it's in the arrangement to emphasize a point about the lyric or the rhythm. And so it's like when, the song goes along and it says, I'm having fun, and somebody holds the word fun, and then somebody else sings, yes, I'm having fun. as somebody else is holding. So that repeat of the lyrical idea. So you need to always make sure that the echo and the repeat is perceived by the audience as different from the first time you sang it. You should never have something that says, I'm having fun, I'm having fun. It should be, I'm having fun, I'm having fun. The second one should be more emphatic, and the audience should say, hey, they must be really having fun to say it twice. All right, and I think this might be the last one on our list is a tiddly. This is not a word that I found anywhere other than in my brain, but we say it in Barbershop all the time. And it's a little special sparkle on the arrangement, often, almost always, but not always, a baritone. Could be any part, but it's often the baritone who gets a little extra flavor, a little icing on the cake, usually to emphasize a fun change of a chord. So usually it's a tool to emphasize tension or release or dissonance and resolution of a chord. And so that baritone part, they kind of live for the tiddlies now and again. All right, so those are really common barbershop sparkles that really designate this as a barbershop craft. There are still more ways, though, that barbershop craft can be defined. And now I'm moving away from the way you sing things to the way the arrangement has the voices laid out. We want to talk about parallel motion. In other words, a duet. So if the melody line is moving along, then there's another part who's moving along kind of in parallel, usually a third higher or maybe a third or fourth lower. And while the other two parts are more static, their notes are more straight across the page. The melody and someone else will move around the page while the other two kind of stay across the page. So sometimes it's a bass tenor duet, sometimes it's a lead bari or a lead tenor. Infrequently, it could be a bari tenor or a bass bari duet. The two moving parts need to be the ones that the audience is hearing, and the two static parts need to maintain a solid and true sound and true tuning, but let the duet have the spotlight there for just a minute. Another kind of voicing that brings interest and sparkle to the barbershop style is contrary motion, or sometimes we call this scissors. This is when two parts have opposite movement from each other, frequently starting a third apart, then moving into an octave unison, and then back to a third apart. So often you'll see the bass goes up, 1, 2, 3, and the tenor comes down, 3, 2, 1, and they share the 2 in the middle. That's a unison octave. And then they're just basically swapping notes. So that's a really common contrary motion or scissors. The rule here is you need to pay attention to locking that octave unison. You need to make sure that you're ringing in the same resonant sound. Let's see. Tune the other notes in the same way that the other part does. Right, so if the bass is super accurate on their tuning, then the tenor has to match that. Or more likely, if the tenor is super accurate on her tuning, the bass has to be as accurate. We use these contrary motion and the parallel motion actually to add interest to a section of the song where the chord doesn't really change much over a few notes, and so the arranger puts the interest into the voicing. Okay, and then the final thing that can happen on the voicing is you got some parts holding and some parts moving, and this is kind of like a post or a hanger from the last slide, but this is when you specifically where you have a duet holding and a duet moving. And so the holding parts need to keep their pitch consistent. They need to grow through the hold. They need to keep their sound moving, building resonance, which usually builds volume as a side effect, and building that energy throughout that phrase. You should never press, of course, never, ever, ever press. And then the other two parts who are moving, they function as the main energy driver across the phrase. And it moves the audience from one phrase to another with purpose and excitement when you've got two parts holding and growing, building energy, and two parts moving and really bringing that forward momentum into the arrangement.
So another big thing about a barbershop is the fact that we're storytellers. We use our lyrics, you know, layered on. The music should mean something on its own, but then you put the lyrics in and you can add even deeper levels of meaning. So if you are breaking something apart, and this is great for a quartet, is look at each phrase and choose a word that you want to be the most important thing in the midst of that phrase. I wouldn't choose the first word, I wouldn't choose the last word, but find one word in the middle of the phrase that you're all going to treat with some extra special care. That's one way to kind of infuse some interpretation quickly into a song, a ballad mostly, but any song. But then you also can look for, this is the big word, onomatopoeias. If you don't know what that word is, it's a word, and onomatopoeia isn't an onomatopoeia, but it's a word that sounds like kind of what it means. So flash, or alakazam, or I like the word whisper. There's so many pieces of that word that sound like the thing you're trying to mean. So find those onomatopoeia words and choose how to treat them as you're moving through. And because it's a team sport, if you all can agree on what that word is or what the treatment is, then suddenly you're going to get the unity part. Barbershop is a team sport. We work together. So anything we can do about treatment of words and treating them together just makes it more enjoyable for the audience. Now, we sing in English and we sing American English. So those across the pond, you probably are, and those in the deep South have to change some of your pronunciation of things maybe to gather up and make all your words understandable. So finding word clarity. And then finally, I like to use the phrase word art. It's something that our director, Michael, talks about, is just making art with your words. So using artistic expression and like grabbing all pieces of the words. So those are ways that you can kind of gather things up, but I think those are very typical to the barbershop style. So moving on, we're going to, so why should I care about, because somebody asked earlier, are we going to be breaking out into sectionals? And it's like, well, no, because barbershop is a team sport. So like on a football team, every person on the team knows what their position is and they know how to play their position. But that doesn't mean they don't know what other people are doing or what the other people on the field, what their job is. So you have to know how what you do in your position works with and relates to the other team members. And then knowing how, just like a football team, knowing what you do in your position and how that influences what's going on in other parts. So that's why we're going to keep that craft and all this talk together. That's why we're staying in the same room, so we can all kind of learn how we work together, because it's team sport. So next, we're going to break this down, and we're going to, as we normally do, we spent far longer than we thought we would on the first 12 slides.
But it should make the rest of this go faster because we've already explained it.
But what we're going to do is we're going to go through phrase by phrase for as much as we have time for. It's the music that brings us together, talking about these things that we set up in those earlier slides. So.
Okay, and I'm screen sharing my PowerPoint and I can't find my music player on my machine. Oh, wait. What happened on your view? Did you?
Nothing changed.
Okay, good. Yay. All right.
He's back.
Okay. So I'm just gonna play the 4-part track, and it's just gonna be these first 3 measures. Okay, so everybody watch your part or listen to the music and watch the music, and let's see what we've got going on here.
It's the music that brings us together.
All right. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to go part by part, and we're going to annotate the music and talk about all the craftiness that exists for each part on these 3 measures. So first, we're going to have Lori.
you know, the most important part. We always start with the melody, right? No, just kidding. So we talked about the expression of the words. In this phrase, the most expressive word is music. It's what brings us together. It's the music that brings us together. And you can hear that actually in the learning track. So it's going to be easy on this song because it's kind of given to you. You'll notice the X there in the end of measure 2 between the baritone and lead on the syllable 2. If you look at the music, the baritone is actually above the lead. What does that mean? Baritones fill a little lighter, leads fill a little fuller. You might need a fifth ear to say, you got enough, or lighten up, or add more. So that's simply what we have in this section.
So when the baritones don't lighten up there, you're gonna lead somebody's ear off the melody.
Right. Or they'll if they don't know the song, they'll think the melody is something completely different than what it is.
Okay, for the bass, what I've marked here, if you see a horizontal line that looks a little bit like a hyphen, you can see I've done it on the word it's. So the bass and the tenor have an octave. And I've marked all the octaves as that horizontal hyphen looking line. So you can see there's a bass tenor octave on it's, there's a bass lead octave on ick. And then the other thing that I've marked is an oval shading around an accidental on the word to. And so basses, you're going to need to kind of tune that a few onion skins a little lower because it's an accidental flat. And then finally, you can see the parallel motion that happens on the bass and the tenor parts. They're singing a beautiful duet. It's the music that brings us together. The whole phrase is a beautiful bass tenor duet. And if you're in a quartet singing this song, you might want to rehearse that bass tenor duet together to make sure that you're delivering it with the same resonance, the same expression, the same tuning style, etc.
And we don't often think about duets occurring during a song while all 4 parts are singing, but they're absolutely here. They're absolutely implied. And so you might notice that the tenor pattern, the tenor markings look a lot like the bass markings thanks to that parallel motion, to that duet. So we have mimicking the bass motion through the whole phrase, the octave on that first it's, the accidental, just like the bass, on the word to. So basically between us and to is a slightly bigger half step than between to and ge. It's one of those things that if it goes by pretty quick, you need to know it's there. And I'll say maybe don't try too hard on it. So let it do its thing. And the other thing to pay attention to for tenors is we have that nice rectangle that Jenny's using to indicate the rub. So we have a whole step between lead and tenor there. So tenors will want to make sure that, that we are the same volume as the lead on that very important word of music.
All right, so baritones. I don't know how many of you have ever noticed how often the baritones and the leads swap places. So those are those big X's that we have marked here, where we're swapping notes with the lead. So if we were being boring, we'd all stay on the same note, but instead we swap to keep interest in the song or keep the melody going where it should go. There have been times in quartet where we've rearranged some things because we had too many swaps and we were having problems with the balance. But here the melody clearly, there's those note swaps marked by the big X. There's a couple of parallel motions that are marked here, as well as the same thing that Lori pointed out from the lead point of view, that time that on 2 in measure 2, where the baritones pop above the leads ever so briefly. So you have to take a nice light approach to that so that you don't steal attention from the melody.
How dare you?
All right, so here are all the parts mixed together on the same page. And what we're going to do now is, hopefully you're all muted, you're going to sing your part paying attention to the things we marked. So if you're a bass or a tenor, you're going to be singing along with the 4-part track, listening for that other part and make sure that you're singing a beautiful duet with that other part. If you're a lead, you're going to make sure that you're expressing the word music, that you're addressing the appropriate approach to the word to, and so forth. A baritone, you're going to be making sure that you're duetting with the lead and that you're swapping notes in the same resonance and tuning style and so forth. So we're going to ask you to sing your part just on these 3 measures and try to achieve the things that are marked on this page. Here we go.
It's the music that brings us together.
Alrighty, and so now we're just going to keep going through the song like this. We're going to be pointing out the crafty bits, the sequiny, kind of rhinestoney, sparkly stuff, and that we're just digging deep to find those gems in the song. So moving on to the next portion of the song, let's play the 4-track. Here you go.
It's the music that brings joy untold.
Alrighty, and so
If I can jump in real quick to ask people if you have questions to put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to address them while we're here, because we did get one that came in asking whether we mark do on our music or mark 1.
oh, that's a good point. When I was making these slides, I started out the first section, I had marked do on every part, and it got to be really marky. So I stopped marking do. I was also marking 5. You could choose to do that. I do that on my own music when I'm learning a new song. So yes, that would be another one to mark.
I don't know if you can see, but I actually, because I do the tuning that Kate talked about in the key signature, I've taken to just putting the number for every note. So what helps me with that though too is if I just put the number on every note, it helps me when there's a key change, I recognize immediately that the pattern is the same or the pattern is different. I can see those patterns because the 1, 2, 3s, you know, in the key signature, the numbers are the same when you switch keys. Make sense?
Yep. Cool.
The other question we got in was about the accidentals, wondering if you take the flat too far, are you going to make it the same as the next note? The answer is yes. You can take it too far. We're talking about fractions of intervals here, and in many ways, they are already part of your barbershop instincts. You know a lot of this already, just because you can tell when you tweak something just a little bit and it sounds so much better. So yes, let's not overachieve on our.
Yep.
If you think of every note with like a space, like think of a whole note, you see there's a hole in the middle, right? So if you see a note on the page, this is where the note is written. I don't know if I'm straight on my middle. If it's flat, you're going to sing it down here. If it's sharp, you might sing it up here. You're not going to go above or below the note. You're just within the note. That's how small of a fraction we're talking. Very small.
All right. We're definitely not going to make it all the way through this whole song, but we're just going to take it by chunks and just, you know, you all know how to mark your music, but we're just highlighting on this particular song some of the things that catch our eye as we move forward. So I've already played this section, so
Okay,
Lori.
so we got one more
It's
question.
the music that brings us.
Sorry, what?
We got one more question that came in through chat. Defending the integrity of the other 3 parts. Is it only the leads who need to put expression on
Absolutely
that
not.
important word music?
The reason we bring it out in the leads, in my opinion, is because the audience's ear tends to follow the melody. The leads have to sell the song no matter what. The others help support that with everything they're doing as well.
But we do the same word art.
And it's often the lead melody where the high notes and low notes are that also guide which words are important.
Okay.
So they lead,
right.
we follow.
Okay.
All right. So in this section, we've got some accidentals. Leads. I'm not going to point out every single one. You can see them. But that, sharps. What do? We have to skin them a little higher. Our important word of this phrase, the most expressive word, is joy. It's the music that brings joy untold. You can hear that again in the learning track. Our small X's there, baritones and leads are swapping locations. Baritones are above the leads there. What do? We got to fill differently. So you got to watch that. And then we've also highlighted the word told. That's a post, that's a hanger, leads. We're holding one note while other parts are moving around us. I hate that word hold because we're not holding. We are energizing that note and keeping the sound rolling. Chords are changing around us, but we're part of that chord. So we need to keep it moving. And then lastly, we've highlighted the word those. That's one of the pickups Jenny was talking about. We're going to get out, take a breath while the others cover our breath, and come in strong while they take a breath to move on.
Sorry about that, Lori.
That's okay.
All right, basses. We've got some accidentals. We've got some octaves. We always get so many octaves. Yay! What do you care about octaves? Listen to the other part and make sure you're tuning. And then we've got some parallel motion with that tenor part again. They're our best buddies. We get so many wonderful duets with the tenor part and accidentals. And then I got an arrow pointing to the right to show that you need to hold that last note and cover the breath of the lead, and don't take your breath until the lead is singing the word those.
All right, tenor goodies in here. We have more seconds with the lead, parallel motion with the lead, parallel motion with the bass, and a couple of sneaky little accidentals. Oh, wow. Measure 6 has an accidental and a rub. So that was going to be fun to go up joyfully on. And then again, like Jenny just said with the pickup, we have to hold over, give our lead friends time to breathe before we take our own breath and come in later.
Can I point out before you leave the tenor page really quick? Leads, you'll notice we did not mark all of the rubs that we might have with tenors and baritones, hardly on bass, but you need to know what the other parts are doing because it might affect you as well. So if you hear somebody say something about a rub with the lead, a swap with the lead, that's for you to pay attention to as well.
All right, so like Lori said, there is a rub for the baritones in here, a couple of them actually, but again, not to belabor the point, but we've got some accidentals that an accidental to tune a little bit higher. We've got a rub on that. We've got parallel motion, and then that old note swap with leads again at the end of measure 6 and measure 6. And then we are above the lead on their post, and then we move to a rub with them. So, and then of course cover the breath, like we talked about in the other parts.
All right, so everybody, you're going to sing your part now. Here we go. I don't know how far.
There's a question on
Oh.
bass echo. Might you repeat the word untold instead of saying the word and staying on the vowel of told?
You could choose that as an interpretation for sure, but if you're in a chorus setting, your director will tell you whether or not that's happening. If you're in a quartet, you can choose it, and then a coach will help you decide if it's a good choice.
It would add a lot of consonants and a lot of told, untold could be difficult to communicate clearly.
It might take away ring as well.
Untold, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you're going to go ahead and sing along here. I'm not exactly sure where the recording is starting, but just jump in when you get there.
It's the music that brings joy untold. Those.
All righty. Moving on in the song. Oh, sorry. Our method is we're going to play the section and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
Sweet melodies, those grand harmonies.
There we go.
Jenny, maybe could we maybe play it again and have people guess what they think is going to appear on the screen for their part?
Sure. That requires I know how far to back up. Here we go.
Those sweet melodies, those grand harmonies.
All right. Kate, you're in charge now. I don't know how you want to go about this.
Oh, you can keep going now. I just wanted
I
to
thought you wanted people to be guessing what was.
That's okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Just in their minds. Think in their minds.
Yes.
Okay.
Silent guessing.
All right, Leads, you're up first. Did you get everything? Did you hear those important words that she brought out in the tape? sweet and grand. We're talking about melodies and harmonies. Those adjectives are really important. The pickup that we spoke about in the last section there. There's the sharp on harmonies. So you're going to sing that just a hair higher as you're moving up. Grand harmonies. You've got baritones above the leads there. So watch your fill.
Basses, a couple of octaves, actually a lot of octaves, and a couple of accidentals. I would say those octave with the baritone are really important because they are.
All right, tenors, got a nice solid rub on sweet with the lead, and then 2 accidentals near the end of this phrase. I have to say those grand harmonies are some of my favorite notes in this song to sing. It's going to be nice and bright and open, and we're heading for that harmonies, 7 of the key signature, all the way up very free.
All right, how many baritones like to sing a high C? So one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention is about breathing to accommodate that high note, because we start a whole octave lower than that here. All right, Laura Jenkins does. Yay, Laura Jenks does. But you need to take that nice high palate lifted breath, because that last measure that we get, that we're above the leads through measure 11 and into 12, we need to just stay nice and high and lifted, because we're coming from a super comfy spot. So we do have, like Jenny said, we do have some octaves with the basses when we're nice and high there. So we should be riding their overtone there. They can set it up and we can just slide it in there. So be aware of that. And then a rub. So I just want you to be aware of some of those things.
And so this is, I've lost my music player again. There I am. I'm back. Okay. So this is all of them together. So everybody sing along.
Those sweet melodies, those grand harmonies.
She's got some long phrases in this song, doesn't she?
I played the song for my husband. He said, "That's really barbershop."
Really barbershop.
Yes, it is.
It really is. This is full craft. This whole song is just full craft.
Oh, and we should give credit for the learning tracks. This is Michaela Slamka Johnston, who's just does wonderful
Fantastic.
tracks for us.
Just beautiful. All right, and here's the next section of the song.
Like the fire that burns in my soul.
Oh, I heard a thing that I didn't mark. Darn, we have to talk about it.
Okay, leads, what's the important word? Figure it out before we turn it. Ready and go, Jenny.
It's the music that brings us.
I got too many buttons.
Did you get it? Did you get it, leads? Burns in my soul. And there we have an accidental on my. What are you going to do with that flat? Down a little bit. And soul, another post. What are we going to do with that? We're going to energize it through.
All righty, basses.
I said, leads are quick. Come on.
Yeah. I got too many windows.
I know.
Basses, we got accidentals. Look, we've got an accidental and an octave. So tenors and basses, you really have to agree on the tuning of the word fire. By the way, we didn't put this in as a little bit of an advanced concept, but measure 13 is an implied key change into the key of E flat. So that puts a little complicated things on top. I'm going to retract that statement and pretend we never said it. Okay, octaves.
No, the rest of you, let it go.
Octaves, 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 octaves. Bass part full of octaves. Look, oh, I kind of said that we have this gorgeous trio thing happening on the word soul. We've got parallel motion between, well, we've got bass has opposing motion with the tenor and the baritone. And I heard on the learning track that it's actually I would call it a mini swipe, but I didn't mark it as such.
All right, tenors, once again, accidental city. So we've got those nice E flats in there. We've got seconds with the leads. Those show up all the time. And then we have that wonderful, again, swipe up from the E flat that's just sitting a little bit low, matching with the bass, up to a nice solid root. And keep in mind where we leave off on sol. That's going to come up again in the next phrase. So hold that thought.
And baritones, we have this wonderful duet that we get to play with the leads on. I love this part. There are accidentals, but my very favorite part, I don't know about you, but how you get to just blossom up on sol, on that natural. And again, the natural just takes it soaring. And I just think this is awesome. This is my favorite.
All right, so let's all sing along to our parts. I don't remember how far back I went here. Well, let's see where we landed.
Light the fire that burns in my soul.
What is next? What is next? What could it be?
Cliffhangers.
All right, here it is.
When storms roll around, when life brings us down.
Yes. Oh, this is a great part too. Oh, I love this song actually.
Another great part.
All right, storms. We're storming. That's kind of an onomatopoetic. Is that a word? Word to me. The storms roll around. It's kind of woof, woof.
And I think roll as well.
Yeah.
A little onomatopoeticness to it.
And bringing it all the way to the last important word of the phrase, they bring us down. Don't let that bring your pitch down, though. Lots of below the baritone singing there. We have an accidental on the word us. Sharp, sing it a little higher.
Basses, octaves, 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 and more octaves and accidentals. But look at that gorgeous swipe. On the word down, we go down in note from down. You're never going to press it. Don't ever press those swipes. But what you are going to do is you're going to send it gloriously forward on this beautiful arc out for your eyes all the way out into the audience's ears on this rainbow of sound. Down. Never pressing. Oh my gosh, how much fun is that? Oop, oop, oop.
Oh, too far. Don't skip the tenors. All right. So tenors here. Aha. So the little V up there. Jenny, is that our breath mark?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I actually I'm going to throw in a couple tidbits for tenors here that we didn't mention. But remember we left off on soul, the fire that burns in my soul. It's the same note as when. And it's on the high side of our range for a lot of us. And it starts with that when, right? An ooh, which if we're not careful can get really kind of tiny and too small to sing freely. So you want to be sure that when you have done your beautiful open soul, that you keep your space open and you're ready for when, so that your space is maintained through the breath. And the next bit I found that happens a lot, I think it applies to all parts, happens a lot for tenors. We have storms roll around when. It's all the same note. It's something to pay attention to and make sure that your trajectory is an upward trajectory in terms of energy and forward motion. Even though they are the same note, they need to keep supporting, keep kicking each one up so that it stays where it's supposed to. And then a little bit of parallel motion there with the leads and supporting the basses on their giving them a good solid octave to swipe away from.
All right, baritones. Lucky us, we just took that soul up in this glorious place. And then we get to just keep that palette where it is to take this nice high breath palette. So we can sing when right there where we left and have room for going up a little bit higher. So you all ye who said you'd like to sing the high C, you're going to a high D now. But in a beautiful duet with leads, and then when the basses peel away, they're going to peel away to an octave with you. So stay strong and present. And keep that ring in it, because they need to hear you so they can swipe to an octave with you.
Jenny, I found one we missed.
What's that?
It's a stealth rub.
Where?
Baritone and tenor on round.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my, that never happens.
No
Yeah,
wonder that's a really fun phrase to sing. All right, so there we go. Let's listen to it again.
Storms roll around when life brings us down.
All right, fun times, fun times. Moving on.
But can we
Here we
back up, Jenny, real quick? Because we had a question about
Yep.
the optional note in the baritone staff. I don't know if Lori wants to answer that.
Measure
On
18,
round.
Lori.
Yeah,
It's actually, I think, the ensemble's choice whether it's going to be which chord they want.
so if it's a chorus, ask your director. If it's a quartet, you pick.
Pretty sure the arranger put it there in case your baritone section doesn't really like to sing high Ds.
It'll change the chord, so play around with it and see which one you think sounds better.
But baritones do activate that part of your range. I think I was kidding about the high part of Michael Gellert arrangements take us up there a lot. So we get really used to being up there, and it is a really pretty place to sing, or can be.
And it's a beautiful duet with the lead part too.
Very exciting.
Yeah, if you listen to that learning track again, it does sound like it's a lead tenor duet, but it's a lead baritone. Let's listen to it again.
Exactly.
When storms roll around.
Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my gosh.
And Margaret points out that the G is harder voice leading, which is
very hard.
True. So
Lots of jumping.
All right. So next phrase. Here we go.
When life brings us down, when trouble and strife come our way.
All right. Another great. This song is made up of 10 awesome barbershop phrases in a row. Just so much barbershop fun in this song.
All right, Lead, you got your accidentals there, a couple of flats, sing them low. Strife, there's your important word there. And if you'll notice, a lot of times important words might be a little longer. The arranger has a good thought there. It helps bring it out some more. And then, of course, we have another post. Way. What are you going to do? Sit there and wait for them to finish their fun? No. Join in on the fun. Energize through it.
And what about the vowel, Lori?
Oh, well, if you want to get technical. No. On this, we sing our A vowel with an E-H, and you hold that vowel all the way to the very end so that everybody can stay together throughout all those chords. And then once you're at that final chord, you as a quartet or your director will tell you when you need to turn that diphthong at the end for that E sound. Way. So wait until the end.
Great. Basses, when you head into this phrase, you're doing an octave jump on your breath. And so down, this breath right after down has to be high so that you can land on that high octave when accurately. So make sure that your breath after down is light and high. When trouble and strife. And then you've got accidentals, and each of those have to be accurately tuned because, again, implied key change. Don't listen to that if that confuses you. Come our way. That was a really bad demonstration of that. But it's a come our is a contrary motion with the tenor. We change notes actually an octave apart from each other. So and then way a. Again, you're going to stay on that EH vowel all the way to the last note, and then all four parts will turn the vowel to the secondary vowel together. And I would say this is a walking bass part down by half steps, which I'm not going to try to demonstrate again inaccurately. But the tenors are joining us on that as well. So it's another beautiful duet there.
Happy had a question about the C versus the F. It is written for an F for the basses. The C is the optional note. Maybe you need that for the chord to be stronger. Maybe you need it because you can't make that jump. Whatever the case may be, again, quartets can make the choice. Directors make it for the chorus.
Exactly right.
All right, my turn. All right. Same story again for the tenors. We got some rubs, we got some nice accidentals, got a beautiful duet. And of course, that way needs the nice freedom, open vowels. When we get back together and sing this together, we'll be hooking up with the basses to make sure our moves happen at the same time. And yeah, so that way, the third and fourth note, we got an E flat that you sit on. And then it's a little sneaky, that's an E natural, but it's what they call a courtesy natural. Means it doesn't actually change the, it doesn't actually contradict the key signature. They're just letting you know it is a different note from the one you were just on.
How nice, how courteous. So baritones, we are going to double now with the basses. They're on the F if they happen to come up to us, if that's the choice that we've made. But then treble, tra and an, we're in a rub with the lead. But then recognize that is in that key signature that those are flatted, and they're flatted all the way across. Treble and strife come our same note. Now Kate talked about that to the tenors. Just keep true on that. We don't need those wandering. We need to choose our tuning and stay strong throughout that. Stay constant there. Don't let that drag down when you have those repeats. And then we have a bit of a, I don't know, a hanger. Since lead got to hang, we get to hang with them. So we're hanging in good company there, and a little bit lighter above them.
Let's go have a drink, Lori. Let's go hang. Come on.
Oh, Lori and I like to hang.
Well, you guys go hang while Kate and I will just sing these glorious half-step chromatic walking bass lines. And
let us know when to meet you at the end. How's that?
Yeah, okay. Pay attention, okay? All right, so let's all sing this together. Pick your part and let's sing all these little notations. Here we go.
When trouble and strife come our way.
All right.
Yeah, somebody, lead Sherry mentioned that those rubbing notes really do help convey trouble and strife beautifully. That so true, and that's such a cool part of what we do, and the fact that, like I'd mentioned, that the music is telling a story that the lyric enhances, which is
absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
And I have another note here that says that notice how the arrangement, as Lori just said, the chords on treble and then the chord on strife is really full of tension, isn't it? And then we implies a natural growth and a dynamic build. And so it's helping with that forward motion as well. All four parts working together to create that energy through to the next phrase.
I just wanted to say to the quartet, it's 8:31.
It is. We knew we wouldn't get through the whole song.
Okay, so how do you want to proceed, folks?
So we do have slides that show all of these things that we're talking about, handouts rather, that can be provided to you all. So you're not going to miss out on anything, just our presentation of it. But maybe we could just take it to the end and play through and let them see. Do you have
I wanted to pick out a couple of things on each of these parts. Okay. So this is let's listen to this and watch it as we go on, but pay attention to the baritone.
It's the music that brings us together.
Baritone, you want to talk about that, Lori?
Absolutely. So this is our little moment to shine, of course, where we get what we referred to earlier as a tiddly. So just love it, because this is what, to me, singing baritone is all about.
Let's hear that one more time.
It's the music that brings us together.
All right, and then is there any? What I wanted to mention about this section of the song is that the phrase before, it's the music that brings us together. All of that brings up tension in the arrangement. And then this phrase, 28 to 31, is the release of the musical tension. And as if the friendships in our hobby are the solution to all of life's problems. That's the feel that the arrangement gives me. Let's listen to that.
But it's the friendships.
So you hear that easing of the sound, that dynamic softness throughout the word friendships. You come out of that tension-filled phrase before and you come into this, oh, it just sounds so much more gentle and easy. We have a hand up. Cupcake, what would you like to ask?
He asked something in the chat already. Maybe that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put my hand up. I
That's
must
okay.
have.
That's
No
okay.
worries.
Well, she asked if we all mark our music this way.
I
Well,
do.
I replied that we each do our own music, how it works best for us. Some, Jenny, likes to mark every part, everything.
I don't mark your parts. I
Depends
just
on our
mark
own
my part
personality.
this way.
Jenny, can we look at the next set of measures? Because the full, maybe keep going, or at least for the tenor bits, because there's, too far. So because I do want to point out, there's one like unusual chord in here that you don't often hear in barbershop. Yep. And that's on Friends.
Yes.
The tenor actually has a major 7 with the lead. It's not a barbershop 7, it's a major 7. So it's going to sound a little bit strange to your barbershop ears. It's correct. Michaela's singing it right.
Let's hear it. Here we
Yeah.
go.
That make us stay sharing music with friends.
All right. So also, Kate, I would say about that music with friends, that's an implied melody for the tenor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this whole phrase, the trio together, but led by the tenor, are kind of floating around the world here. And
Because
so
the
it really,
lead is taken over the hanger at that point.
For the last 25% of the song, the lead is posted.
so yeah.
And
So
you always could and you always will.
okay, and then let's move on to the last one. Here we go. And then fills our hearts with there. Lori, you want to mention anything there?
That's our another little place that the baritones get to shine, because this is our chance to be sort of melodic.
Fills our hearts with song each day.
Look at that. That's that chord example we gave early on in the slides.
There's the F chord. Yep.
I love that saw-ong with the contrary motion with the bass into that fun chord. Oh,
So what I thought we could do, if you all want to hang out for 2.5 more minutes, I thought I would put up the fully marked full page sheet music and sing. We can all sing along with it. But first I have to find it. So, because I just
It'll
had
be
this
okay, Judy W.
marked up music all.
which occurs to me, Lori, how is that hanger? Is this going to be a feasible song for quartets?
You're gonna need a breath. You're gonna need a breath in there somewhere. Somehow you'll have to figure out, where to sneak in there.
All right, so folks, you want to sing along? We got the fully marked up music here. By the way, we will be providing these handouts to you. We've got the everybody marked on the same page, and then we've got part specific marking version. And for the spreadsheet people among us, there is a narrative chart that shows what happens on each of the parts.
We are
So,
3.5 baritones in this quartet.
yeah, well, some people don't like or can't read music, whatever. So
Yep.
here we go.
That was great.
From the
The
beginning.
music's not showing,
The
Jenny.
music's not showing.
Music's not showing.
Yep.
Is it showing now?
No, there it is.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right, here we go from the beginning, folks.
muting
Everybody's
probably
singing.
wrong.
Hey, by the way, if you are singing, maybe mute yourself. Maybe not. That's fine. Either way, here we go.
It's the music that brings us together. It's the music that brings joy untold. Those sweet melodies, those grand harmonies, light the fire that burns in my soul. When storms roll around, when life brings us down, when trouble and strife come our way, it's the music that brings us together, but it's the friendships that make us stay, sharing music with friends fills our hearts with song each day.
Oh, that's the longest I made it on the post. Almost to the last.
All right, so we have run over time. The class was officially over 9 minutes ago. Thank you all for hanging out. We are happy to stay here and answer questions, go over anything that we kind of went through too quickly. And also, all of the handouts will be made available to you in some way that your regional people know about, and they'll
We
tell you
have
all.
all of them. They're gonna get sent out probably
Wonderful.
tomorrow because it's late. So we have them. They'll get to you.
Great.
I want to make sure to thank Luster. This class was so wonderful, and I'm reading all the stuff on chat. It's amazing, and thank you. And everybody, they're going to be back again on Friday. Another great class full of craft.
We're so full of craft. You
If
wouldn't.
we're full of something, it's craft.
You guys fabulous. Thank you so much.
I want to say also for members, the marked up music is on the website, so you can access it there. And for our guests, I guess I'll send it out if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You
So
girls have such amazing synergy together, even talking about all of the geeky stuff. It's wonderful.
that's what 15 and a half years will do for you.
Fantastic.
I love the color coding. And
Yeah,
that-
what did you use for the markup?
It's wonderful.
I used Photoshop.
Oh, okay.
I loaded the PDF into Photoshop. But in normal life, I use highlighters.
So I use an app called Notability. So for the iPhone crowd,
Yes.
I love it because I can erase markups when we change a breath plan. I can delete them.
Oh, and I forgot that I had recently, before the COVID stuff happened, I had been using my iPad with the app called Fourscore to mark my music digitally.
So
I use crayons.
I know that we're all geeks and we all want to mark our music up, but I think that then there's a point where once it's ingrained, you have to walk away. You have to walk away from the left brain and walk right down into the art.
You know, we were talking about as a foursome, all the different things that the baritones have to do and the tenors have to do and the basses have to do and pay attention to. And wait, what do the leads have to do other than sing the melody? Well, we actually have to know everything that everybody does. We have to be aware of it because it affects, we might have to sing louder or fuller or lighter or whatever it is. But then once we are aware of it, stop thinking about it, sing. You will learn, your body will ingrain all of those things. Just sing, like Lori's saying.
And remember,